Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. How are you doing today? We are on with the one and only Dana from Hemlane. How you doing, Dana?
I'm great. Thanks, Michael, for having me again.
I appreciate our conversations. I put together my expert series on purpose. I love talking to you. It's about mom and pop self-management, what they're doing. It's always fun. So thank you for giving us some time every other week.
Yeah, I love being here.
Awesome. Folks, and if you don't know, Hemline has a discount below for you, an entire playlist, just amazing content you can go back and listen to figure out who is Hemlane, what about Dana. She's even creating a script to go in our course to help you use the 30-day trial. Well, it's just awesome. But today's topic number one, Dana, why do 72% of landlords self-manage? What you got?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. Just if you look at the market, just from the entire life cycle of real estate investing, when you look at actually physically purchasing the property, over 93% of people use a realtor to do the purchase, right? And then it suddenly flips. Once you get into the management, it's suddenly like, oh, I'm not going to use someone licensed. I'll do it myself. And mass market self-manages their properties.
Interesting.
And so the question is why? And there's no, there's not a document that has the answers to it. But after being in this industry for long enough and talking to enough real estate investors, small as well as large, I've finally figured it out.
Okay.
And I'm excited to share with you. So I think the first is just the concept and mentally when you purchase a real estate investment. Unlike stocks or bonds, which are super passive, you press a button and you purchase online, you're buying a physical asset. You're literally buying something that is a large portion of a lot of real estate investors, their savings, right? Because you're going to do most likely over $100,000 of an investment, even though you're not putting all of that down. You're maybe putting 20% down. But it's a huge asset. It's not like a stock where you can go online and buy $5,000 of Facebook or whatever it is. And so part of it is just that concept, I think, of having a physical asset. And suddenly when it's something physical, I think people do like that concept of, okay, now I need to also be physically involved with it.
Okay.
And then I also think it has to do with this whole empowerment concept, which I've been talking a lot about.
Okay.
And the reason is I think of things like home security, where we are in the Bay Area. I used to work at a company called Nest. And before Nest, I never had security. I never had ADT screening my home and having someone physically there to look at it. But suddenly Nest came along and it was like, oh, great. From my phone, I can see cameras. I'm empowered to know what's going on with it. And it actually kind of puts me at ease when I'm on vacation or something to know what's going on.
Certainty.
I want to know that. And I really feel now, the more and more I talk to investors, why are you self-managing? Why aren't you using a traditional manager? It comes back to that same thing of transparency. I like to know what's going on. I like to be in the know of it. And if I just get a check in the mail, how do I know that things are being done correctly? And so it's interesting because the more that I try to say, okay, well, your time is worth this. You spend so much on this. Why aren't you going to a manager? It comes down to that. And so I think one of the really big things there is that transparency of people wanting that transparency into the details of their property. And so anyways, from that perspective, those are kind of the main things that I've come up with. Then obviously it's also the type of or the number of properties. Usually the average real estate investor has 4. We're all hoping, Michael, to get to your level of real estate investments, 1 rental at a time. But it's also saying, okay, I have 4, it's sort of manageable. And now I have this transparency and trust through this process that I'm building. So I can do it myself. And so that's where I kind of come to this. What does the future look like?
Okay.
What does the future of property management look like? And I feel like what's going to transpire time and time again is something that still gives the owner, and then the property managers who are going to win are the ones who give the owners, hey, here's everything if you want to see it. And here's all the transparency. You can go back in time and see everything and conversations. Just like on my Nest camera, I can see, oh, my package was stolen 3 days ago. Who stole it?
Right.
The same thing where you can go and see the details, but you don't want to have to sit there and monitor it all day long. You have someone else monitoring it, someone who's licensed on the ground, someone helping you, but you have that transparency. So I think that's the biggest thing. So there's obviously property managers who listen to your channel. They're real estate investors. But I think when you think about the future, it's really that empowerment of being able to see and be able to control and know what's happening, but not having to be in the day to day. And that's a win-win for everyone. Yeah. So anyways, that's what I've come up with. I'd actually be curious to hear from your, you managers, how you feel.
Yeah, it's, this is just another example of you're so much nicer than I am. Because I think my answers are vastly different.
Okay.
So number one is cost.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of newer investors, frankly, are buying skinny deals where a 10% management fee would make the deal negative, right? I think there's a lot of new investors that are, especially in a hot market, not so much when the market's coming down, like maybe 08 to 12, but in the last year, deals have been tough. And sometimes it's easier for investors to beat up their spreadsheet, as I call it, and take the property management column, which I have in my spreadsheets, to zero and say, you know what, I'll self-manage. It's one house. How hard could it be? I think there's that attitude, which is unfortunate.
I'm surprised people change their spreadsheets. I mean, just to get the numbers to work. You would think that maybe they'd say after purchase, I'll self-manage to increase. Yeah. But if the numbers are looking good without having that 10%, it's not good for you.
You know, exactly. I mean, I call it beating up the spreadsheet, or spreadsheets lie. I mean, there's lots of analogies, but it's a pretty common activity in a hot market because there are so many people that want a deal. And they just stare at their spreadsheet, and there's this column called property management, which I ask them to put in 10%. And they're like, damn it, that's 1,500 or 2,000 or 200 or whatever it is. And they're like, if I take that out, my yield goes up. So I think there's that behavior. I think it's a little more common in a hot market, but I think that's the case. And again, that's, folks, if you're not buying Hemlane and you're doing that, you need, basically what you need is Hemlane is the infrastructure, right? Hemlane's a platform that gives you, just like Nest, the history, the documents, it protects you on so many ways, communication. It's just the way to go if that's your answer. But that's one. Number two, I've heard from so many people, and this happens a lot more in smaller cities. So maybe not in a big city like San Francisco or New York, or like big, like Dallas, but there's only one or two property managers in my area and they both suck. I mean, I don't know how many times I've heard that, right? The property managers probably act like they have a monopoly, which if you're one of two, you really do. Yeah. And a lot of investors are like, just no, right? They get a bad taste. Maybe they try property management first, they go to one and then they go to two and they go, you both suck. So they're going to do it themselves. And then the third one, I think, is really what you talked about. It's, they want to kind of be in the power position. They want to see what it's all about. They want to learn. Right. One of my experts on Tuesdays, the lumberjack, he has a portfolio, I think, of 60 units now. His intention is to roll it into property management, but he wanted to do it himself first so he can feel what's going on and things of that nature. And then the last one I'll talk about is a lot of property managers self-manage when it is local, right? Think 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot less common for you to self-manage when you have one in this state and one in that state and one over here. If you are that person, you need Hemlane because you need that consistency. But that's what I think. I think it's really cute how you try to be soft and nice and all of that. No, it's just price, and they think property managers suck. Those are the top two in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree on the price one. Obviously, we hear that a lot. But then I'm trying to think with it, because it is price, but then it's like, how valuable is your time? If you're smart enough to get the education for one rental at a time, and you look at your time, it's probably worth more than $50 an hour.
Oh, I didn't say it was the right answer
on this.
Yeah. I didn't say it was a good answer.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what happens in their mind. Yeah. I mean, again, what I did in the beginning, I've had a property manager since day one house.
Yeah.
And why did I do that? It's because I had a crazy life. I wanted to have whatever free time I had as free time, not give it to a tenant. And my job is to find deals and secure capital.
Yeah.
The $100 I had to spend on Norris Drive, I didn't even think about. I'm like, forget about it. So yeah, I think it's, but I was shocked. 72% of landlords self-manage. If you would have told me over under, I'd have taken the under all day long.
Yeah. No, it's quite staggering. And that's from the Census Bureau. So it's legit. I'll send you the link too.
Nice. Very cool. This has been a fun conversation, Dana. I look forward to number 2. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Michael.